Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure: all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. That's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel, which I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is at Doug Pless. And just a note about Bookmap Discord, that is free and available to everyone, whether you are a Bookmap subscriber or not. There's a lot of great content here, including my channel, of course. All right, so again, Bookmap Discord, free and available to everyone. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options, order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be talking about setups in an underlying asset. For example, setups in the S&P 500 can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the chat in the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat in YouTube. So please feel free to post your questions and comments. I'll be do my best to answer your questions. And hello, trading for a living. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, my agenda for today, Tuesday, October 31st, Halloween Day. First of all, I'm going to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings for today as well as the rest of the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from this morning. And then I'll take a look at the live market. All right, let's get started with news. So first of all, there was a minor data release this morning, medium impact consumer confidence at 10 a.m. did come out greater than expected, and also lower than the previous number. And then also AMD reports earnings after the close today. All right, for the rest of the week, of course, the big event for the week is the FOMC meeting tomorrow. Before that, at 10 a.m., there is PMI data that comes out. But again, the big event, the 2 p.m. FOMC announcement, and then the press conference begins at 2:30 p.m. Just as I'm wrapping up, I will be wrapping up my webinar at that time. All right, let's take a look at what the market expects for tomorrow. This is the Fed Watch tool for the November meeting. So this is the November meeting tomorrow. The current rate is 525 to 550. And right now there is about a 97% chance of holding rates steady. at the current target rate, and there's actually a just under 3% chance of actually reducing rates. And according to this, there is no expectation for a rate increase at this current meeting. So really, I think the market will mostly be concentrated, focused on the statement and then the press conference, what Jerome Powell has to say at 2:30. All right, so that's the expectation for tomorrow. Over 97% chance of holding rates steady. All right, so that is that's tomorrow. Then on Thursday, Apple reports earnings after the market closes, and then on Friday is the jobs report. That is the monthly jobs report for October. That comes out on the first Friday of the month. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. There's also more PMI data that comes out at 10 a.m. All right, I'm going to start with my positional analysis now. And TK, hello, welcome, glad you're here. Asked, could I take a look at ES and Hero and discuss any potential setups? I'll be glad to do that. I do that every day. All right, so let's get started with positional analysis. And when I get to the setups, I normally start with the S&P 500. All right, so let's, speaking of S&P 500, let's take a look at the levels in play for today. So this is the ES futures and Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I'm going to take a look at a larger time frame. I'm going to go to SPX in a 30-day 1-hour chart. This is showing price and key levels again for 30 days of data. Let me point out a couple of key turning points. First of all, this is the October 6th jobs report for September. Gamma squeeze after that level. Here is the October monthly options expiration. And so that was on the 20th, and that was a very put-dominated negative gamma environment. The expectation was for a put Vana rally that lasted for a couple days, and then I think the issues with treasury rates and geopolitical events moved the SPX lower. And then last Friday, this is the 4100 put wall. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. And that level held as support. It did its job, and the S&P 500 has rallied since then. And let's take a look at one factor in play for that rally. Let's take a look at a chart of VIX. So this is last Friday, this dark area here. As traders were buying puts for hedging for weekend risk, and that did not work out. That there was no, of course, there's a very dire geopolitical situation in Israel, Gaza, but no really impact on the market. So VIX has been dropping. That is a tailwind for equities. VIX continues to drop. That's been a pretty good trade the last couple of weeks. Selling premium on Friday into that spike in volatility. So there's the drop in VIX starting late day on Friday, and then the corresponding rally in SPX. And of course, I guess risk of FOMC tomorrow is likely putting somewhat of a damper on a stronger rally, although SPX seems to be doing pretty well today. All right, so those are that's the price action, key turning points. Let's take a look at some levels now. First of all, the dashed purple line showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. They're kind of a cluster of levels right there at 4,200. That is both the right around the upper daily and weekly expected moves, right at 4,200. That's based on the options market, and that is set once a week. Then the lower and upper daily expected move, again the upper daily expected move right around 4,200. And that changes every day, again based on the options market, the expected move. All right, there are also some Spotgamma levels on this chart. Let me point those out. These are Spotgamma proprietary levels available to Spotgamma subscribers. These are based on gamma weighted open interest. The first key daily level is 4,000. That is the absolute gamma strike. That's the strike with the largest absolute positive and negative gamma. Above that is the put wall that acted as support last Friday. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. The next level up is the 4280 level. Up here, that is the volatility trigger. That is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility, leading to wider trading ranges and more or less stable trade. So SPX is trading well below that level. And then up above is the call wall at 4,500. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma. That can be expected to act as resistance. Not really in play for today. All right, let me talk about shifts in levels now. So the volatility trigger did shift slightly lower from 4,300 to 4,280. And the call wall also shifted lower from 4,600 yesterday to 4,500 today. So again, well out of play and not significant. All right, so again, the SPX well below the volatility trigger in a negative gamma environment, with market makers trading with price to hedge their delta exposure. All right, that is the bigger picture. Let's take a look at an SPX chart for today, just to show a closer focus on the levels that are in play for today. Here's the put wall down at 4,100. Excuse me. And then really the levels up above, right around 4,200. Upper weekly expected move, upper daily expected move, and also there's a combo level there that combines SPX and SPY. Gamma weighted open interest into one level, and then also an L2 level. So an important level at 4,200 that was noted as resistance in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. All right, in Bookmap, oops, I have my own cloud notes, so I can show a variety of levels. The levels are shown in this column, and I'm showing SPX levels, SPY levels, and also other relevant levels for ES. So here's the SPY 417 volatility trigger that did act as resistance earlier today. That was right around 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time before the cash open. Here's the SPX 4165 support level, noted as support and in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. And in this consolidation period, just afternoon, it did act as support and kind of a launching point for the 1 p.m. rally that actually started a little bit early. All right, so those are the levels in play for the S&P 500. Again, I've got SPY levels, SPX levels. The Spotgamma levels are shown with white lines, white labels, red text, and just the round number level is shown in yellow there. And then there's the upper weekly expected move for ES. All right, let's take a look at, let me get to shifts and levels for SPY. So for SPY, just like SPX, the volatility trigger did shift lower down to 417 now. That level has definitely been in play for today. And also the call wall actually shifted higher. It was kind of a strange level at 414 yesterday, shifted back up to 440, more in line with the SPX. All right, so that's shifts and levels for the S&P 500. Let's take a look at Nasdaq now. So let's go to the NQ Futures and Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I'm going to take a look first of all at a QQQ chart so we can isolate the QQQ levels in play for today. And pretty similar to the S&P 500, here's the volatility trigger at 350. Acted as resistance before the cash open, and now QQQ trading above that level. All right, so that's QQQ levels in play for today. Now let's take a look at NDX. And here's that combo level that was on the right around the 350 level, combining QQQ and NDX gamma weighted open interest into one level, here converted to an equivalent NDX price. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. So there's the 350 level, QQQ 350, and that combo level just below it that did act as resistance earlier today. And then support right around the, more or less, the 347 level, QQQ 347. So just like the S&P 500, I have my own cloud notes. I'm showing NDX levels, QQQ levels, and also the zeros and the 50s for, it looks like I'm missing some levels here for the NQ. I need to update my spreadsheet. Move it lower. All right, so those are the levels in play for Nasdaq today. And we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. So there were some minor shifts in levels for the Nasdaq. For NDX, the volatility trigger actually shifted slightly higher. And for QQQ, the volatility trigger shifted lower. And note the volatility triggers are pretty volatile. They shift almost every day. But otherwise for Nasdaq, the put walls, call walls, and absolute gamma strikes all held steady. And again, we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. All right, so those are the levels in play for today. Talked about shifts and levels, pretty minor. So really not enough shifts and levels repositioning in the options market to make any judgment on a directional bias. And really the dynamic in play for today has been that continued drop in volatility in the VIX, and as well as drops in the treasury yields, but the 10-year is dropping today. Or let's take a look at gamma notional now to see how market makers were positioned on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. I like to look at this every day. This gives me a sense of how market makers may need to react to changes in price and implied volatility. So first of all, at the beginning of the day, here's how they were positioned on the gamma curve. I'm looking at gamma notional for SPX, SPY, NDX, QQQ, RUT, and IWM. So the S&P 500, Nasdaq, and the Russell 2000. And for Nasdaq, I pretty much focus on QQQ, and for the Russell 2000, pretty much focus on IWM. Let's start with the S&P 500. Note these numbers are all negative. For SPX, minus 1.12 billion. For SPY, minus 1.76 billion. This indicates at the beginning of the day, market makers' position on the gamma curve was negative. This means that traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, and they have to trade in the direction of price to hedge their delta exposure. And for QQQ, also negative. And the same for IWM. And note for the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, gamma notional, although still negative, became less negative than yesterday. And for IWM, stayed about the same, maybe slightly less negative. All right, let's take a look at the Vana model now so we can see a graphical representation of what this means. I'm going to start with the SPX. This is the Vana model. This chart is showing market makers' delta notional. That's their delta exposure on the vertical axis, price on the horizontal axis. There are two curves on this chart. The first, the light gray curve, shows how market makers' delta notional will change with changes in price only. And then the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers' delta notional or delta exposure will change with changes in price and implied volatility. And that change in delta with the change in implied volatility is the Vana effect. Vana is a second order Greek. All right, let's take a look at some prices on this chart. First of all, for the SPX, the low of the day was right around 41.53, somewhere right around here. And let me check, see where SPX is trading now. Right around 41.88. So from this point to this point, I'm looking at the purple curve. So what this is showing as price increases, market makers' delta notional will decrease, has been decreasing, and they can buy back short futures. So we know that VIX has been dropping also. So following the purple curve, we know that price is increasing, implied volatility is dropping, market makers' delta notional is dropping, and they can buy back short futures. And that is a put Vana rally. All right, so that's a very important dynamic for price action today. All right, that's SPX. Let's take a look at SPY next. Go to SPY, very similar curve. SPY, low of the day, right around 414. Just a little bit above 414, so right around here. SPY currently trading at almost 418. Same dynamic. Price increasing, implied volatility drops, market makers' delta notional is dropping, and they can buy back short futures they use to hedge their delta exposure. And then let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ, low of the day, we saw support was around 347, right around here. And QQQ currently trading over 350, somewhere around here. So the same idea. Price increases, implied volatility drops. In this case, market makers can buy back short NQ futures they use to hedge their delta exposure for options trades in QQQ and in DX. All right, let's take a look at some setups now. So based on this, my thesis for the day was really looking for still higher volatility, watching VIX carefully to see if this continuation of this put Vana rally would continue based on the drop in implied volatility after the weekend as traders loaded up on puts on Friday. Implied volatility continues to drop. Market makers can buy back their short hedges. All right, so let's get to some setups now. I'm going to start with the SP 500. I'm going to first start with the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options, to see what options traders have been doing today. So this is from Spotgamma, available to Spotgamma subscribers. Again, it's hero, hedging impact real-time options. All right, I'm checking for questions. Truman asks, is that gamma chart this week's expiration upper left corner? So Truman, I'm not sure what chart you were referring to. I was looking at the Vana model before this. All right, so this is the hero signal. Again, hedging impact real-time options. So everything that we've looked at so far, other than Bookmap, has been static data from Spotgamma based on gamma-weighted open interest that's updated once daily, sometime overnight. Now we'll get to real-time setups. So first, this is the hero signal for the SP 500. White line is showing price. The purple line is the hero signal, showing hedging options trades and hedging activity for a combined signal for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. All right, let's zoom in on this chart. And I'm going to focus on setup in the morning, right around 10 a.m., somewhere between 10 and actually around 9:40 and 9:50 and 10:05, something like that, right around here, looking at this setup. And note that the hero signal was trending up. So there was somewhat of a divergent setup right here. Price was moving lower, hero signal moving higher, traders taking positive delta positions. All right, Chat Picat asked, how do you know the bias trend direction of ES? So I'm talking about that right now. Right, so this is the first clue. I see that options traders are taking positive delta positions. So when traders take positive delta positions, market makers take the opposite side of that, and they have to buy ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. So this is the hero divergent setup around 10:05 this morning. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Going to focus on this I'm in, still in NQ. It's going to be a very similar setup, but let's go to ES. All right, Chappycat, I'm watching, when I'm trading, I have two screens. I'm watching Hero on one screen, Bookmap on another screen, and putting together a narrative to understand what's driving price and potential setups, especially on a day like today where I am expecting, based on this drop in VIX, a slightly bullish bias. That was my thesis for the day. All right, so then I'm watching Hero. I see that traders are taking positive delta positions, watching Bookmap for signs of a move higher. And that comes right around 10:05. Watching order flow here. These volume dots show market buy minus sell. Magenta dots show more sellers than buyers. Green dots show more buyers than sellers. Kind of a false start here before 10. And then the real move right around 10:05. Aggressive buyers. You could have waited for the break above 415 that acted as resistance before. And then there's a quick move up to, first of all, this liquidity right around 41.92 and then up to 41.96. This is the heat map and Bookmap showing a history of limit orders in the order book, and these were limit sell orders in the order book. Stayed in there. The darker the band, the more orders there are in the order book, and these definitely acted as, first of all, a target for price and as resistance. All right, so it took some patience today watching Hero and seeing what options traders were doing, watching order flow and Bookmap with the expectation, also watching VIX with the VIX falling, and also in the subchart here you can see the sharp move higher in all these lines. The pink line, that is cumulative volume delta, CVD. It changes from magenta to dark blue, indicating a shift from negative to positive. The yellow line is showing stop orders. That's buy stop orders, helping to fuel the move higher. That's also shown by the on chart indicator with the small green dot there. And then finally, this rising light blue line showing iceberg orders. Those are orders that larger traders use to hide their size. Those are the buy iceberg orders. It looks like there's a series of smaller orders. This icon is kind of obscured here, but that is showing 2,320 contracts. And that definitely helps to fuel the move higher. Then buyers were temporarily exhausted, reverse, and then aggressive buyers start to come in again right around the 415 level. Back up to the liquidity, the resting liquidity, right around ES 41.96. Let's zoom out. All right, so overall that move higher has continued today. So the initial move higher right around 10 a.m., deep pullback, consolidation period, final test of 41.65 support level, and then price moves higher for the afternoon rally. All right, let's go back to Hero and see what options traders have been doing. Zoom out, make sure I'm looking at the entire day here. All right, so this is the cash open. There's that initial move higher. Note that Hero, up until about 11 o'clock, was making a series of higher lows. Then traders, options traders, often in this environment, will have kind of a mean reverting action on price. As price reached a new high, options traders were taking negative delta positions. And then just before noon, they shifted higher again, started taking positive delta positions, and so far that continues. So they got started a little bit early on the 1 p.m. rally. Let's just take a look and see a closer look at what they're doing today. So I'm separating out put and call transactions. The orange line is showing calls. Very close correlation between calls and price action. So what this is showing, right around just before 11, traders started selling calls, buying puts. When both lines move in the same direction, that's a very powerful signal. And then just right around an hour later, sorry about that, nothing I did. So then just right around 12 o'clock, they stopped buying puts. Note the blue line flattens out, resume buying calls, price moves higher. So it really helps to get a more comprehensive picture here by separating out puts and calls. There's one other way to look at this. We can take a look at next expiry, and that would be the options that expire today for the S&P 500, and that is showing about a third of the notional value today. So not, it is playing a part. Zero DT options traders are playing a part in the move today, but 2/3 of it are options that expire further out than today. That's shown by the purple line, the zero DTE trades shown by the next expiry. All right, so this bullish move continues higher as traders are taking positive delta positions. All right, Alexis asks, do you use stop orders detector, and how, please, if you use it? Yes, I do. So I showed it when we were taking a look at ES just a few minutes ago. That is the yellow subchart indicator. Let's go back, take a quick look at that. Go back to Bookmap. So that is the yellow subchart indicator. I have this in sum mode. That's what I like to see. That's the yellow line. So that's showing that a good bit of this rally today has been fueled by stop orders, and that is the stop indicator is a pretty good, often a very good indication of direction of price. And this move higher also starting in the afternoon, fueled by aggressive buyers. That's shown by the cumulative volume delta there, and you can just see all the green volume dots. And we just saw with Hero that options traders were taking positive delta positions, also helping to fuel this move higher. All right, so there you go, Alexis. Again, in the subchart, I'm using the stops indicator in sum mode. I also have the on chart indicator so I can see the individual events. And that's actually somewhat of an aggregation in this zoom level of the chart. So if you trade futures, I think the stops and icebergs are an essential part of analysis for futures. And I have both here. They're part of the MBO bundle that's available in the Bookmap marketplace. And stops and icebergs do work for CME futures only. All right, let's take a look at Nasdaq now. All right, so very similar price action. Now Nasdaq trading above the 350 volatility trigger. Let's take a look at Hero and see what options traders are doing. First of all, I'm going to go to the Nasdaq signal. This is a combined signal for NDX QQQ. A little bit more choppy today. Here's this morning setup. Not quite as clear as the S&P 500, but traders start taking positive delta positions right around 950, 955. And Nasdaq rallies. Let's take a look at one other thing. This is a new indicator, a new symbol for Hero called Magnificent 7. And this paints a much more clear picture. What this is showing is options trades and hedging activity for a combined signal of stocks that are known as the Magnificent 7: Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Tesla. And these stocks make up a very large component of the Nasdaq 100. So let's take a closer look at this chart. And after this chart, this indicator, the Hero signal, has been rising after about the first 10 minutes of trade this morning. Traders taking positive delta positions. So today they are selling puts, taking advantage of high implied volatility. That's shown by the rising blue line. They're also buying calls. That's shown by the rising orange line. Notional value for today, both of those are positive. So this provides a very clear signal for the Nasdaq today that traders are taking positive delta positions in these 7 stocks. When that happens, market makers take negative delta positions. They are selling calls, buying puts, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. All right, so this is a great new symbol that's been added to Hero that provides a lot of clarity for both the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, but especially for the Nasdaq. All right, so let's go take a look now at, so Tolman number 12 asks, when I say traders are buying calls, does this mean that market makers are short calls? Yes. So I'm talking about options market makers. They take the opposite side of customer trades, and then they hedge their delta exposure in the case of stocks with shares of stock. In the case of QQQ options, for example, they will hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures most likely. Right, so Tolman, that's kind of a basis of my my approach to trading, is that options traders and market maker hedging activity are a key driver of price for equity index futures and many stocks, and certainly all of these Magnificent 7 stocks have very active options markets and are heavily driven by options trades and market maker hedging activity. All right, so let's go back to Nasdaq now. All right, so here's the reversal at right around 10 a.m., right around the QQQ 347 level. And after that, order flow becomes a little bit more clear. Green volume dots, aggressive buyers, multiple pullbacks, as Nasdaq makes a series of higher lows and makes a final launch for the afternoon rally right at the somewhere between the 348 level and the NDX 299.0 gamma level, and now trading above again the QQQ 350 level. All right, Tolman asked if market makers are short calls, they are interested for the stock price to go down, or am I wrong? Well, here's what market makers are doing. All they're doing is making markets. So they want to make markets. That's how they make their living, and then they are hedging their delta exposure. So they don't care if price goes up or down. They don't care what price they're paying for stock. All they want to do is hedge the risk and make markets. So they are not interested in the stock price to go up or down. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Again, market makers, all they're doing is making markets. That's how they make their money, and hedging their delta exposure so they remain close to delta neutral. All right, so that's Nasdaq. Let's take a look at some stocks. First of all, again, AMD reports earnings after the close. So let's take a look at AMD. We'll see how traders are positioning ahead of the earnings report this afternoon. So there's AMD and Bookmap. Let's see what options traders are doing. So let's go to AMD. All right, so traders are taking positive delta positions in AMD ahead of earnings, and mainly call buyers driving price higher. That's shown by the rising orange line. The blue line is fairly flat. So traders are buying calls ahead of the earnings report this afternoon. Very steady uptrend, and Tolman number 12, you're welcome. Hope that helps. All right, so there's AMD. Traders buying calls ahead of earnings this afternoon. All right, let's take a look at NVIDIA. Going to zoom in on this. Let's zoom in on the morning. So in the morning, NVIDIA was trading below its put wall that was expected to act as support. And right around 9:40, 9:45, traders start taking positive delta positions. Note the flow alerts here, indicating significant options trading activity and hedging activity. And price moves back above the put wall. It did act as resistance temporarily, and one more time, and then price broke higher, then acting as support as expected. So the 400 level, very important in NVIDIA today. Let's see what traders have been doing. So they're selling puts today. That's shown by the rising blue line. They're also buying calls, but the blue line, the put line, really driving price higher. Traders taking advantage of lower prices and at high implied volatility to sell some premium in NVIDIA today. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. Remember the 400 level. So right at the open, NVIDIA broke sharply below the 400 level. Let me just tone down these volume dots just a little bit. So here's the 400 level. Price broke lower right after the cash open, acted as resistance, And note the liquidity at that level. There were some sellers at that level. That's what the heat map is showing. Price broke through, consolidated for just a few minutes, moved higher. Then that level acted as support, and now NVIDIA is trading higher. Note there are a lot of aggressive buyers today. You can just see all the green volume dots there. Right, so that's NVIDIA. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla's really been beat up lately. All right, let's see what options traders have been doing with Tesla. All right, note for Tesla, the 195 level, that's the put wall, did its job as expected. Tesla did trade slightly lower, but as Tesla was testing that put wall, traders came in, started taking positive delta positions. Note the floor there. Again, signaling significant options and hedging activity. And the hero signal indicates that traders are continuing to take positive delta positions. In the case of Tesla, they are buying calls and selling puts, shown by the rising orange and blue lines, notional value positive for both. And 200 is the key gamma strike, and that's also the hedge wall that's shown here. So the gamma levels on this chart, 200 key gamma strike hedge wall, and the 195 put wall. Those are the Spotgamma levels in play for today. Let's go back to Bookmap. Whoops. Go back to Bookmap. So the 195. Let me tone down the volume dots just a little bit here, so we can see price action a little bit better. All right, so with a stock as volatile as NVIDIA, just like Tesla, just like NVIDIA, support and resistance levels may not hold to the tick. There's the 195 put wall support. Initially the 200 level acting as resistance. And now price trading above that level. Note a lot of aggressive buyers today. All the green volume dots, very few magenta volume dots. That's also shown by the rising cumulative volume delta. Just a steady uptrend of aggressive buyers coming in, taking advantage of lower prices. All right, let's get back to the, well, first of all, does anybody have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Please let me know. If you have any stocks you want me to take a look at, I'll be glad to do that. Otherwise, we'll go back to the S&P 500 first. So it looks like it is finding some resistance at SPY 418. The S&P 500 often reacts at the SPY round number levels. And there it is, the 418 acting as resistance. Let's see what options traders are doing now. Go back to the S&P 500. So here, mean reverting options trades taking negative delta positions. Then a few minutes later, price starts to move lower at that potential resistance level at the SPY 418. All right, let's take a look and see what they're doing with the Magnificent 7. Very similar, options traders taking their foot off the gas. Price moving lower. Nasdaq also similar. Traders starting to take negative delta positions. Fading that move to highs of the day. Let's go back to Bookmap. We'll take a look at NQ. All right, so traders starting to take have been taking negative delta positions. Looks like some aggressive sellers coming in with the magenta volume dots here showing that. And Alexis, back to your question about stop orders. You can see the buy stop orders help to fuel that move higher, and then that line levels off. No more buy stop orders fueling the move higher. Aggressive sellers start to come in. We know that traders are taking negative delta options positions, and price is starting to move lower. So I'm using stops as part of a narrative for this. We don't know if it's a pullback or a start of a move lower. So far, maybe just a pullback. Potential support level right now 350, and then this 364 combo level that acted as resistance earlier. All right, again, last call for stocks. Anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? Go back to the S&P 500. Potential support at 417. The volatility trigger that acted as resistance before. Let's go back, take a look at Hero, see what options traders are doing. Go back to the S&P 500. I'm going to go to a shorter rolling window period just to see if we get any additional clarity. So it looks like, so now I'm just looking at the last 30 minutes of data rather than the entire day. So in this, with this viewpoint, options traders continue to take negative delta positions. All right, Shane asked about TLT. I think you asked about that yesterday. Is that correct? So we can take a look at it again. I don't have TLT in Bookmap. We can take a look in Hero here. So not a very active options market in TLT. So mixed picture overall. Slightly positive for the day. Traders taking positive delta positions, but up and down on Hero, very thin options market in TLT, at least according to the notional value here. Let's see what they're doing in the Magnificent 7. So again, I think it remains to be seen whether this is just a pullback or the start of a move lower. All right, let's end up with Bookmap. So now we're watching for the potential support at 417. Let's go check Nasdaq. So Nasdaq now breaking below, trying to break below the 350, 364 level. All right, my time is up. So if anybody is looking for an entry, I suggest watching this 417 level, and that's also right at the ES 4200 level, so easy to remember. All right, again, my time is up. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for your questions and comments. And remember, tomorrow, first of all, well, for today, AMD earnings after the close. Tomorrow, PMI data at 10. Expect kind of a quiet market after that, up into the FOMC meeting. Again, the announcement at 2. Press conference begins at 2:30, and I'll drop whatever I'm doing at 2, and so we can watch the live market. All right, thanks everyone. Again, thanks for watching. Thank you for your questions and comments, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.